Hi guys, it's Jacob from Stringbuzz here, stringbuzzworld.org being a music journalism site, links are in the description down below. And we have a brand new song review for you today, and it's the latest track by DeMarco, and that's One More Love Song. So I'm going to refer to the original article as I usually do for these videos, so I hope you enjoy. So on the eve of DeMarco's album release, yeah, it comes out tomorrow funnily enough, I think it's the appropriate time to review one of the singles he has just dropped off of said upcoming album. Mac is one of those artists that really grow on you, and perhaps you won't like your first few listens, but you will get into it eventually. I can give you my word on that. And I like his musical approach too when it comes to fleshing things out and getting the most out of each sequence individually. So should we see what I thought of this brand new track? Well, this is probably my favourite release from this upcoming album so far. It has a great piano melody behind it and a surprisingly catchy, swooping hook that throws in some really retro 80s imagery into the mix, or at least feelings and atmosphere. In fact, I go so far to say that this is probably the most accurate representation of that sort of 80s slow electronic scene. It's like vaporwave, but with like a little more drive to it, I guess. I think the track was a little more varied too than a couple of his prior tracks, his earlier releases. I mean, things like On the Level, even though I really enjoyed that track, it was a bit repetitive and a bit same old, whereas this time around we don't get the actual same sequence repeated over and over, but rather fleshed out until there is a major transition, and then we're back to the start again and we're going to flesh it out in a different way. I actually quite like this very unique approach. Production wise, the track is very watery and very dream pop orientated, but that isn't necessarily a bad thing at all. There's a lot of reverb in here, but it's good reverb. The pads create a texture similar to tracks from the likes of Macintosh Plus, and maybe even some of the latest stuff from Childish Gambino and his latest album. I think the vocals are kept a little quiet in this track, but they worked well to almost add yet another additional pads sort of layer to this ever-evolving atmosphere. I did see them more as an instrument rather than actually like a vocal track, so yeah, I enjoyed that aspect of things. I also thought the piano kept its very sort of natural percussive edge, whilst, yeah, you know, adding another layer into this track's texture. I sort of saw everything as different layers, different harmonic layers, which had their own individual moments. It's interesting to remark upon when coming back to the production when reviewing things, and that's why I say you have to listen to this track. All in all, the only thing that could have done with a little improvement, at least from my personal perspective, is perhaps the bass, as it didn't quite show up too much in the overall mix. I mean, from the wholesomeness standpoint, it did cover the low ground really well, and it was prominent in the foreground every now and then, but it didn't really keep its tonality or twang, which made it, you know, I basically struggled to differentiate it from what was around it and what it was actually doing in this track every now and then as well. I couldn't really hear the musicality of it because it was more of a wop rather than actually being as organic, which I guess did produce that slightly acidic twist which I mentioned earlier. The drums were kept very dry and raw, but for me this worked really well as it added like a jazz-like influence into it as well, so it's just a very varied production cycle. When it comes to the musicality of this track, it's actually fairly simple to follow. You have this progression which is hammered home chordally on the piano, and with the pads bolstering the movement as well, which I enjoyed. You have a collection of piano melodies that add an instrumental hook into the track, which is memorable and exciting. You have a subdued and laid back vocal performance with these big swooping notes that are typical to the DeMarco sound, so I like the stylistic qualities on show there. You have some harmonies that also bolster this sound and these big swooping notes, especially in the chorus, and the track just repeats, growing more and more developed each time around. Usually I'd hate this style since people try to execute it in such a lazy and sloppy way and just are unimaginative with this idea, but this time around I thought it worked really, really well, and it allowed for a really evolved and mature sound to be created. Lyrically, the track is definitely more conjunct than, say, a lot of DeMarco's tracks, but having said that, unless you actually look up the lyrics, the meaning might just go way above your head. I mean, I didn't really follow them all too well, and I don't think they're meant to be taken that seriously, so all in all, the track's definitely worth a listen, and it caps off what has been a great day for music. So I gave it a G rating of 7 out of 10, which is well above average. So if you like this video, then please leave a like, comment what you think in the comment section down below, subscribe to see more, and I'll see you around next time. Bye bye.